Hey everybody, it is Fun Friday, and I want to talk about the multiplayer networking in PB Tournament. All right. So, quick update. I basically went through and I redid my first-person controller. The one I was using, the library I was using, just wasn't working out, and it wasn't compatible with multiplayer gaming, and so it was causing problems. And by the time I fixed it, I could actually have my own custom-built and ready to go first-person controller. So I decided to do that. Plus, I think in hindsight, it probably is for the better for me to do it this way, because then I have more direct control over everything. So like I can add snap shooting without causing any problem. Sorry, without having to jump through hoops and stuff like that. All right. So one of the questions that I got was, "Hey Barry, how is the multiplayer stuff going to work?" All right, no problem. Let's talk about it. So there are a couple of trains of thoughts when it comes to doing multiplayer. One is where you have the clients talk to each other directly. All right, this is peer-to-peer multiplayer. So you say, hey, client B, I'm at X and Y, and I'm shooting at you. Okay, and client B says, all right, cool, I'm at X and Y, and I'm also shooting back at you. Okay, and so basically on your screen, you'll be getting information from clients A, B, and everyone else in the lobby saying that, what information was there, and it's going to be shown on your screen. The problem, however, is that client A could tell everybody in the server, or I'm sorry, everybody that's in the lobby or in the group, I just killed all of you. I'm nowhere near you, but I just killed all of you. And you can do that over and over and over again, just sitting, not even doing anything, right? Basically shutting down the entire game, which is awful. Okay? So we cannot do peer to peer. So the other thought you can have is you can say, all right, well, if we're going to have cheaters, which is it's constant in every game that you ever play, there's going to be cheaters. Why don't we make it so that before they can do anything, they have to talk to the server first? All right. So client A says, all right, I want to move to, this X and Y position. Right. So talks to the server. Server says, all right, yeah, you can move there. Okay. Goes back to the client. All right. Now you would think, all right, that's a pretty good idea. But the problem is a little thing called latency. Latency is the time that it takes for information to go from client A, for the server to process all that information, and then go back to client A. All right. Now, in Counter-Strike and Halo and Overwatch and a few of other games, the latency is about, what was it? Like 80 milliseconds, something like that? No, it was higher than that. It's like 5 frames. 5 to 8 frames is how long it takes for if they are directly connected, right? So no lag at all to go from here back to here and back to here. That's how long it takes, right? So what you get is when you press the W button to go forward, gamers are really, really perceptive at noticing lag. So when you press W, it's going to take those 10 frames to go forward, right? Now when you land up, it might not be that bad. But let's say you're on the West Coast and the server is on the East Coast, right? So the latency is something like, 200 to 300 milliseconds. Okay. Well, that's going to be really perceptible because you're going to be, I mean, that's a really, really big lag between, between when you press the W button, you actually go forward. Okay. In turn-based games, you can do that. In, what else is there? Not real time games. You can pull that off. You can't pull that off with gamers and this kind of thing. All right, they will go to your house and teabag your dog because they hate lag. We all hate lag. Okay, so what the developers at Bungie when they made Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, and however many there are now, and Counter Strike and Overwatch and Battlefield and all that stuff, they all pretty much use this exact same model. So we still have a server, right? And the server still validates the input from client A before it goes to client B. But instead of the server being completely authoritative over what the client can and can't do, right? The server is instead authoritative of what gets sent to the other client, right? So basically the server is Judge Judy. Okay, the client will tell the server what it's doing. The server will determine if it's possible based on the rules of the simulation, and then it will send if that information is valid, it will send it to client B. Right? So what you get is you get it so that instead of shooting to compensate for lag, right? So I mean, in some games, instead of actually shooting at the person, you have to shoot for where you think they will be based on your lag, right? But instead, in this way, you have a client. You have your client A, right? And it has information about client B, but you're shooting directly at the client. And so basically, what you do is you say, all right, hey, I killed, or I shot at, or I hit client B. The server goes, yep, you did, because it has the information based on the simulation. Okay, and then it goes back and it says, hey, client B, you're dead. Now, a problem that can happen because of this is that you'll have a thing called rubber banding, where because the server is basically validating your inputs, right, it can send a correction back to one of the clients, right? So let's say you say, hey, I'm at, X and Y, right? And because of your lag or whatever, it takes a long time. The server goes, all right, you're at X and Y now, right? Or I'm sorry, no, the server says, based on this information and based on what I have in the simulation, there's no way that you can be in X and Y, right? Because of packet loss, because of, extreme lag or whatever. The server says, nope, you can't be this way. Here's your corrected location, right? Well, that will have you going back in time, right? That's that thing where you kind of move forward and then it pulls you back. Yeah, that's basically what it's doing. It's updating your position with what it has, okay? Which can be problematic, all right? But the idea is that networking is so good nowadays, unless you're on Comcast or some shit, that you can rubber banding because of network problems will be minimal. All right, they're basically making a bet that your internet will be good enough to be able to handle the server. Now, another thing that they do is they also have minimum ping limits. So you can't just join a server when your ping is 500, because they know that by the time your information gets to the server and back, it's going to be all jumbled up. It's going to be so out of sync that the experience will not only be awful for you, but for anybody else playing. Right? So that's one of the reasons why if you try to join a server on some of these games, they'll be like, your ping is too high. All right. Now, the next question you're going to be asking is, okay, well, Barry, if that's the case, then by the time the information goes from client B, I'm at X and Y, to the server, and then goes to client A, that hey, this person's at X at position X and Y. Well, what am I shooting at? Okay, so the best way to explain this is to say that you're basically chasing, the enemy on your screen, in your simulation, in your version of the game, is more or less chasing a point backwards in time. That's a pretty good way of explaining it, right? So when the lag is only 5 or 10 frames, the server is sending information as often as it can, saying this is where these people are based on my simulation data and where I think that they should be, right? And so by the time it gets to you, they're basically just a little bit behind where they actually are in real life, right? And when you're on LAN, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because everything is so fast on LAN that you should not be able to notice it, right? But when you're online, it can be a little bit noticeable. But basically, the person on screen is just chasing a point backwards in time. Now, something that some of the servers do is there's a lot of adjustments that you can make to make sure that to kind of minimize the difference between what client B is seeing and what client A is seeing, right? So one thing that can happen is that the server can basically say, all right, well, client B is pressing these buttons at this time, so I know that the time that it takes for a ping from client A to the server is 30 milliseconds, right? Oh, sorry, that's way too low. It's 100 milliseconds, right? So the server goes, all right, so this person's pressing these two buttons, so in 100 milliseconds, they'll be at this position, right? So here's the position, here's where they probably will be, okay? And the server can do it that way. That's one way of making an adjustment to make things more streamlined. Let's see. There's tons and tons of different optimizations that can be done. What the people in Battlefield did is they kind of they reduced the amount of information that they were sending. So they reduced the bandwidth to make it so that and put player movement as more important than anything else in the game, which meant that player bugs and glitches in game were not as common, but I mean it happens. So anyway, so that's how PB tournament is going to work out network wise. So the way this works out is the way that shakes out is it's actually really awesome for everybody involved, because that means that anybody can own a server, and it means that when you play on a server, you can be pretty content knowing that you're not at an extreme disadvantage no matter what your ping is, right? So even if your ping is a little bit high, right, or on the higher end, you don't have to worry about it too much because the server kind of negates any kind of ping advantage that you might have, which is pretty awesome. All right. So going forward over the next few days, I have paintball tomorrow, but over the next few days, I will be releasing multiplayer servers to anybody who signs up on the forum that I released in How Big is Paintball. I might put it on PB Nation. I don't know. I don't know how buddy they are with Xfield Paintball. It seems like Xfield's putting like a big push on there, so I don't know if they're gonna like kick me out. Because I mean, the last time I put something on PB Nation, that was like one of those whatever, like kind of conflict of interest things. They gave me a warning saying that I shouldn't post that kind of stuff without paying for a news up. I'm not paying for news up for something that anybody can download. So we'll see. I mean, I might do it. I might not. I don't know how I feel about it yet. But anyway, so yeah, so we're gonna be releasing multiplayer servers, which is gonna be awesome. And then let's see. So I'll be taking a lot of feedback from the multiplayer testing, and I'm going to be adding. I'll be 3D modeling a paintball player, 3D model. That'll be fun. I might stream that on Twitch. That might be fun to do. Stream it on Twitch and see how that goes. I don't know yet, but anyway. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Is there anything else? No, I think that's it. I think that's it. All right, everybody. I hope that you guys have a great week. Have a great weekend of paintball, and yeah, man, I will see y'all next week with some new stuff. Actually, no, it'll be probably like towards the beginning of this week with the multiplayer code and all that stuff. So, anyway, y'all have a good weekend, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.